The project began in New York City. Christy Jacobson and Lori Silverbush are two documentarians who work feverishly to bring different issues to social media for change. And so they started looking at the issue of hunger, knowing that hunger is an issue that has a tendency to kind of be placed under the table, if you will, and isn't always something that people readily understand. So they took off on a journey throughout the nation, and on that journey realized very quickly that hunger is not this urban blight issue. It's in every location in the United States. And so as they traveled throughout the United States, visiting with people and learning more about the issue, they were fortunate enough to make their way to Colorado, where they spoke with representatives and people from Hunger Free Colorado, learned more about their work, and also spoke with representatives from the Colorado Earth Food Bank of the Rockies. Through those discussions and education, they learned about Pastor Bob Wilson, who you saw in the film, and learned a lot about the work that he's been doing in a very small community. Amazing, brilliant work. And so they came to learn more about him. They came to our community, and he shared his story and the work that he's been doing. And then he opened up his mouth and shared my name, which is why I'm here today. For the last 5 years, I've delivered food banks to needy families, those primarily with small children in our community. I'm not a frequent attender of church, so my church and my spiritual work, if you will, outside of the classroom is really the work that I've done in delivering food to families and children. And so I agreed somewhat reluctantly, because it was very intimidating to be interviewed by film directors. And they were also from New York, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I know that probably doesn't sound very nice, but I wasn't sure. Anything's possible with media. And so I agreed to let them into my classroom, and I shared my story about what it's like to grow up in poverty, and also shared the impact of hunger, because I knew that personally. And so for whatever reason, the story that I shared resonated with them. And as they continued their travels throughout the United States, by the time they edited the film and finished the film, A Place at the Table changed names. It was originally named Finding North. And Finding North, when they premiered it at Sundance in Lake City and also in London, for whatever reason, the title wasn't setting with audiences. Their idea behind Finding North was that it's about refinding or locating that moral compass and getting people back on track to focus on issues that are important. But it was changed to A Place at the Table because everyone deserves one. And so by the time the editing was finished, they broke the film or the documentary into basically 3 different stories. One of the stories was my story and Rosie's story. Rosie was a 5th grade student in my classroom a couple of years ago, and was struggling with attendance before I got her. She was a student. We're a small district, so you just kind of get to know the kids, whether you teach them or not, which is a real blessing. So by the time she'd arrived in my classroom, I knew that we had some issues to work on just with attendance and kind of trying to get to the core of what was causing those problems. We had some assumptions, but I needed to invest some time in connecting with her and figuring out that piece. And so through that process, I discovered that her poor attendance and her focus issues and her lack of academic growth was directly related to hunger. And so I shared that story with permission and rights given from her family. We were very close anyways, because I visited with her family every week, delivering food and also taught them. So fortunately, her family was so willing to open up their hearts and their struggle to impact the nation as they have. And so that's kind of how all of this began. And throughout this experience, I think one of the things that I'm reminded of on a daily basis is the importance of our role as educators or anyone who works in a school district. Your role goes so much beyond your commitment on paper, whether it's a teacher or a school bus driver or someone in an administrative role. It's about taking the time to connect with children on a crazy level. And so sometimes those stories break your heart, but I think they're the ones that make you realize how significant your role is, and they force you to fight harder for kids and to stay committed. And so I'm fortunate and blessed to have had that in our district. So I just want to challenge all of you this morning, because I know so many of you already do so much, to remember that connecting with children first and foremost is the single most important thing you can do in education. So the other part that I wanted to share was it's forced me to realize that I have to go beyond the classroom and kind of take a look at the issue of hunger. Not only does it remind me of the importance of connecting with each individual child, and often it was important for me to understand that hunger doesn't have a particular look. It doesn't have a particular face. And while it's something that can impact you greatly, and it's something I will never forget, I've used it to kind of motivate me to work harder and to connect with people. And I want to remind my students to do the same, that even though they're experiencing adversity, or there are things in their lives that they don't always have a lot of control over, the thing that they do have control over are their dreams. Growing up on food stamps and on public assistance created a lot of stigma. There's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of pain. It messes with your self-esteem. And all of those emotions kind of resurfaced in this process. And so I think that's another beautiful thing about this process, is it's reminded me how far I was able to come when all of the circumstances were kind of working against me at the time. And I think so many of our kids who are struggling don't always believe that they're going to rise above those circumstances, but they can, and they can do it with your help. After being involved in the film, it's also forced me to pursue something that I'm passionate about. It's helped me to connect with people such as those working with Hunger Free Colorado to pass legislation for breakfast programs for all students. My hope is that you are all aware of the amount of work that's happening right now in our state with the breakfast programs. I'm just curious, by a show of hands, how many of you feel like you have a good handle on what's happening there? That's where I was. I was involved in this film. I was involved with lots of people who are working to make changes related to hunger. But I encourage you, log on to Hunger Free Colorado's website and take a look at the statistics, take a look at the work, take a look at what they're trying to work towards. They're trying to get rid of the red tape. They're trying to get rid of the stigma associated with free and reduced lunch programs. And they're working to make sure that every student, no matter what circumstances, good, bad, or ugly, gets breakfast. We already know this, but I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in Common Core and standards and all these expectations, but I just want to read a few statistics to you. Kids who eat breakfast miss less school, do better in math by 17.5%. They are 20% more likely to graduate, make $10,000 more annually, and are less likely to experience hunger as adults. But here's the problem. 21 million people or kids get free or reduced lunches, but only half of them get breakfast. Breakfast can change lives, and No Kid Hungry starts with breakfast. You can learn how to help, and you can get involved by going to nokidhungry.org/breakfast. In our state alone, more than 900,000 people struggle to put food on the table every day, just in Colorado. Colorado has the fastest growing rate of childhood poverty. Those statistics and the research that I've had to do along the way with this documentary has really opened my eyes more to the fact that we all have a perfect opportunity to get the ball rolling to wipe out hunger in America, but most importantly, in the state of Colorado. I challenge all of you to get involved. Talk to your superintendents, talk to your administrators, talk to your colleagues, no matter who. And remind families to get involved and sign up for lunch programs and breakfast programs, because your work will help get rid of that red tape. It will help get rid of the stigma. And I think most of you know that the more free and reduced lunch programs that people sign up for, the more people take advantage of the programs and the things that are available in every school district, it benefits your district tremendously, because it also provides opportunities for more aides to be hired, for Title I programs to be more effective, and it offers more programs in general to any district. That's something I didn't realize. I never made the connection between how important it was for me to step outside of my classroom and talk directly with families and children to say, don't worry about any of that stuff. This is about taking care of your kids. This is about investing in their future. It's not just about having a kid on free or reduced lunch. Common Core is a big thing, and we all need that. And there's so much to be grateful for, and it's an incredible amount of work to be done. Through that, one of the things that I've also realized, it's very easy to just focus on those core areas, but it's extremely important to pay attention to the work that educators have put in place to educate our children about health and nutrition. So if you haven't had an opportunity to focus on the work that's been done there and been put in place, it's some pretty incredible work, and it helps remind students about the importance of setting health goals, no matter what their circumstances are, because it's intended to help them enhance their nutritional skills and their awareness, even if they don't have direct access to fresh fruits and produce or vegetables. They need to set goals for nutrition and health. Communication with families, just in a nutshell, is the key. This very important effort on the part of a teacher or district is huge. Let's reduce the red tape. I know I say that a lot, but it's so important, because that's really what's getting in the way, is people feeling like there's this stigma associated with need. Let's help our kids by encouraging families to sign up for lunch programs. And again, go to nokidhungry.org/Colorado. They've created a 5-year plan. And this 5-year plan started a few years ago. Their goal is to end childhood hunger in the state of Colorado by 2015. They have 10 very, very, very practical objectives. I encourage you to go to their site, take a look at those objectives, and realize how easy it is to work with your local food banks, work with your local directors and any organization, and with your people who are making decisions. You can make it happen in your community. Representative Moreno from Commerce City has done outstanding work. They're pushing things through legislatively, and it's headed to the governor's desk, and that's really exciting this month. And it doesn't have to be big, you guys have to remember that. I'm not attending church, but I'm going to church every week to pick up food bags. I deliver 1,500 food bags every year, just as one person. And I don't have the financial means, but I found some organizations that can help me make those dreams come true for kids in our community. So talk to people, find out how you can get involved, even if it's a backpack program. Mesa County's done great work. They've been recognized nationally for their work with the backpack program. I've received emails. Good job. I've received emails from Europe the past couple of weeks. They were asking questions about the backpack program in Mesa County, and they also sent some gift cards. And so next week, Rosie, if you watch the film, Rosie and I are going grocery shopping with $200, and we're going to buy fruit, and we're going to buy vegetables, and we're going to have our little nutrition experience and have an all-girls day, thanks to the efforts of people from Europe even. And then lastly, I just want to leave you with a few thoughts. Remember, food insecurity does many things to people. If you haven't experienced it, sometimes it's hard to relate to that, but I just want you to remember it's something I've never forgotten. Being a second grader with no food, very damaging. It's something you never forget. I lead a really busy life, and I am really guilty of forgetting conversations that I've had 2 hours ago with people, but I've never forgotten looking at my refrigerator when I was a second grader and seeing 2 carrots in the bottom of the crisper and trying to figure out how I was going to fix that for my family and how I was going to make it to school and be successful because I didn't have what other people had. I had circumstances that I had absolutely no control over, but I never gave up on my dreams, and my dreams have happened because I'm an educator and I have the best job in the universe, and I've never forgotten that. So just remember the embarrassment, the pain, and the insecurity that is bred by hunger is huge, and it's significant, and it's in every single one of your schools. It's in your classroom. Hunger is true, and it's real for the children in our communities, in the state, throughout the nation, and most importantly, in your school, and in the children that live in your community. Connect with kids and take the time sometimes to just set all that other busy stuff aside and work like crazy for their well-being.